Breaking tonight, Yellowknife residents told to get out now as wildfires bear down.
I'm directing residents of Yellowknife to begin evacuating in a phased approach.
Stories of escaping the flames and so many more. Get ready to run. We are on the ground as fires push closer to the capital.
You can see from the side of the road.
And we're inside the disaster zone in Maui, too. Residents get their first glimpse of what is left and what's lost forever.
And it's just a special place. We can't lose that.
And why some breast cancer patients may not need radiation at all.
The findings were very impressive.
This is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
We are following breaking news out of Yellowknife tonight. Officials have announced an evacuation order for the entire city as a wildfire burns its way closer to it. Everyone is being ordered out by Friday at noon. There are routes out by air and by road. Officials say they are safe and they are pleading for calm.
The fire is not here. By issuing a community evacuation now, we can implement the evacuation plan while the highway is still open and with plenty of flights to fully evacuate everyone.
Let's talk about those flights. Those flights will be listed on the territorial government's website tonight. They will start taking off tomorrow afternoon. People are also able to drive out while Highway 3 is open, but it is subject to closure at any time. Pilot vehicles will help drivers through the smokiest of areas. And again, everyone is urging for calm right now. Let's go to Yellowknife because Juanita Taylor is there right now. Juanita, so much has changed there very quickly after days of watching this fire just inch closer.
Adrian, it has changed so quickly, unbelievably quickly over the last few days. Now, we just got the emergency alert on our cell phones. We just got that not too long ago. It's gone out now. And as we just mentioned, things have been changing very quickly here. But we want to stress that the fire is not here yet. But Adrian, if rain does not come in the next few days, that fire is predicted to reach the Yellowknife outskirts by this weekend. So people have until noon local time on Friday to evacuate the city. It is going to be a huge undertaking. There is about 20,000 people who live here in Yellowknife. And Adrian, this is such a huge fire that is burning close to the city. It is a fire that officials have been battling for well over a month, and it is known that built up fuel in the environment is a huge contributor to how big and how fast this fire is ravaging the Northwest Territories lands. Now, people are being told that they can leave by road or by air. They are going to have buses, they are going to have airplanes available to take people out who don't have their own means of communication or transportation. And people do need to go to the multiplex here in Yellowknife to be able to register for that. Now, the Highway 3, the only highway that is accessible out of Yellowknife. Now that is open. People who want to leave Yellowknife tonight, they can do so. Tomorrow morning, they can do so. There are going to be pilot drivers on the highway. There's also going to be tankers on the highway to assist people. And the officials, we just completed a press conference, Adrian, and officials in that press conference want to stress that people here in Yellowknife are not in any immediate danger. But Adrian, once that emergency alert came out not too long ago, I think for me that is when it really hit home in saying that this is really happening.
Well, not the least, Juanita, because you know that arrived on your phone because you're standing there in Yellowknife, and we're all conscious that you and the crew are among the people who have to make a decision about how and when you get out. That's right, and I honestly have not been able to think about my options yet. All this information came in so quickly. I have to consider what options there are available for me as well as our co-workers. We'll just have to be able to absorb the information and consider all options, as I said, and make the best decision. All right, we're with all the people in Yellowknife tonight. Juanita, thank you very much. So let's go now to Cam McIntosh, who's at an evacuation center in St. Albert. Cam, what can you tell us?
Well, a now closed evacuation center that has reached capacity. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, but we've seen a lot of people come south. We've seen a lot of people come here to St. Albert. People go to Grand Prairie. Now an evacuation center is going to be opened in Leduc, just south of Edmonton. That will begin tomorrow morning. So people that make it this far south are being urged to go to Leduc. As for that trip, that journey, as Juanita was just explaining, that highway between Edmonton and Yellowknife, it's not the 401 highway in Ontario. It is a remote highway. There are not many services on it. So right now, authorities are saying that it is safe to pass on it. They're urging a calm, phased evacuation over the course of the next day and a half here, 2 days, but are being very direct that people need to get out of Yellowknife. And as we saw earlier, speaking to some evacuees, sometimes that trip on those highways up north isn't necessarily the safest. Take a look. Heeding the warnings and for some, orders to leave. Trips out of the fire zones, harrowing for many. Holy videos like this showing the dire situation in parts of the Northwest Territories, including photos from one family showing parts of the car they fled in, burned and melted. In the capital Yellowknife, many didn't wait for an order to leave.
A bit surprised with the escalation of the forest fires in this region. When we landed 12, 13 days ago, wasn't much of a concern.
Landing in Edmonton, Ashley McClellan just happy to get her baby out of the smoke.
Watching the flights sell out and the prices go up, I just kind of got to a point where it was like, we should leave.
It's a situation changing by the hour, with at least 230 fires burning across the territory. Yellowknife is now the biggest concern. On the edge of the city, Kyle Thomas is trying to wait it out, watching over his bakery and microfarm, but his bags are packed.
There's no set plan. There's nothing we're following that's telling us exactly what to do. We're kind of making this up on it as we go.
If I could take every single firefighter from the world, I would take them at this point.
Premier Caroline Cochrane is working with what she has.
We're hoping to do fire breaks. We're working on it currently, but it's pretty smoky here today, which means when there's smoke, we don't have the aircraft, the water bombers.
However, in other parts of the territory, rain and cooler temperatures are helping. Around the evacuated communities of Hay River and Fort Smith.
Aircraft and helicopters were able to get up in the air last night and this morning to undertake fire suppression efforts, which is such good news. It's really hard when those are grounded.
It may be a while before anyone contemplates a return, with plenty of risk for people still trying to drive out. Hundreds of evacuees are ending up in central Alberta, places like Grand Prairie, and St. Albert just outside of Edmonton, where this volunteer firefighter helped conduct the final head count in Fort Smith.
I really didn't feel like leaving. I stayed till last minute that I could as a volunteer firefighter for the town.
So Cam, what do we know about how difficult it might be to get out of Yellowknife?
Well, for people that haven't been to Yellowknife, there is basically one highway leading south out of that community. So imagine you're going to try to put 20,000, maybe a little bit more people mostly on that road. So authorities are urging people not to drive down in an empty car. Don't go just yourself or a couple. If you can take other people with you, take them with you. Take someone's pet if you can. So they're trying to reduce the volume of the traffic that's going to be on that road over the course of the next couple of days here. And it's a remote northern highway with not a lot of services on it. So they are saying that gasoline will be made available for people making that drive. It's about a 14-hour drive from Yellowknife down here to Edmonton. As for people that can't sit in a car that long or have health issues, the territory has posted a link on its website where people in Yellowknife and the surrounding area can register to be part of an airlift. They say that they are working with private contractors to bring in private planes and the Royal Canadian Air Force to bring in capacity to bring people out over the next couple of days. So people that are eligible for that or feel that is something they need, they can register for that. In the meantime, though, they're telling people that have been getting ready for this in Yellowknife, if they have been preparing for this, it's time to go, it's time to get in your car. And for people that have not been preparing, they are saying it is time to prepare and time to get out over the course of the next couple of days.
All right, Cam McIntosh in St. Albert, Alberta, thank you. So Cam just talked about the evacuation flights there. That is important because, as he mentioned, if you cannot get out by road, then there are flights available. Those flights will begin tomorrow. They are intended for the people who are, of course, the most vulnerable. How is that going to work? Well, let's head to the airport in Yellowknife where MLA Caitlin Cleveland is. So, Caitlin, thank you for joining us. Your electoral district, I gather, is one of the areas ordered to leave. What are you hearing from your constituents right now?
Right now, people are looking for accurate information. They just want to make sure that they are following the orders and that they have all the information they need to be able to get to where they need to be to get to safety. And I heard you say I'm at the airport. I'm actually just out in Grace Lake, which is in the electoral district of Cam Lake, which is on the very edge of the city and is expected to be the first district of Yellowknife that the fire is approaching.
So that means it's the first one that's being ordered to go because it's the most vulnerable geographically?
Yeah, so the recommendation is to leave this area this evening for everybody that is living in both the Cam Lake Business District, Grace Lake area, as well as the Angle area. Sorry, and I've got one of the things that's happening here is I am on my cell phone and I am trying to stay up to date with residents, and so I might lose some service here.
Fair enough, and we don't want to interrupt that. I must ask you something, though. I gather your husband is a pilot involved in the evacuation effort. What are you hearing from him?
He is going to work business as usual, as in he is doing his job, flying planes, flying people out and doing what he can as a northerner, as many northerners are. It's been a pretty incredible day out here in Yellowknife, especially in the Cam Lake riding. It is a riding that is full of business owners, and business owners clear across Yellowknife have been working really hard to assist the efforts of clearing brush, of setting up sprinklers. The business community is absolutely the backbone of the Northwest Territories, and they, along with residents, the City of Yellowknife workers, and the N.W.T workers, are doing what they can in order to create a fire breakout here.
It seems very unnerving watching this. Your skies must be filled with water bombers and the ground filled with people rushing around. In the name of accurate information, who is flying and who is driving? How is that determination made?
Sorry, you cut out there and I missed that.
That's all right. Who is flying and who is driving? Who are the people who have to fly?
So they're asking as many people who are able to drive to do that. The road is open right now. If there needs to be, there will be pilot drivers available to support people. Anybody that needs support on the other end, they're asking them to fly out. That way they can make sure that they get to a place that has an evacuation center that can receive them. But at the moment, we've got 2/3 of our territory now with this evacuation order. So 2/3 of the Northwest Territories is under an evacuation order. The Arctic is literally on fire, and I just have so much gratitude to the National for covering this, because the world needs to pay attention, and they need to know this.
This is terrible. We're all so sorry, and we are all with you. Okay, hang in, Caitlin, and we will be in touch in the days to come. Be safe.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you for helping get the information out to residents. That's the most important thing, is that residents stay up to date, stay calm, and stay safe.
Excellent advice. Thank you, Caitlin. That fire threatening Yellowknife is one of hundreds in the territory. And tonight, there's a major development about one burning near Hay River. Emergency officials expect it to reach the community tonight. Now, some crews were pulled out of the path of the fire and are moving to other areas. Retardant is being laid down to try to stop the spread, as well as sprinklers and structure protections. A post by the town online says all persons should go to the Hay River Airport and await further instructions. As we've been saying all night, information is everything in a situation like this. Clearly, it can be really tough to get it. It's hard if your battery is dying, maybe data is slow, maybe your connectivity is in and out. To a degree, CBC News has a little bit to help, which is that we have what we call a light or a low bandwidth version of the website. So you can find it at cbc.ca/light. And in this case, light is spelled L-I-T-E. Now we have to take a look at the wildfire aftermath in Hawaii, where for the first time, some residents were finally able to see the damage there firsthand. Lindsay Duncombe was among those who were granted access to the disaster zone.
Block after block, kilometer after kilometer, a community in ashes. People who live in Lahaina finally allowed past the roadblocks. There is so much work to do, so many people helping each other.
That's all we have is each other. You know, we're by ourselves out here, so.
Now that the highway to Lahaina is open, traffic is moving at a crawl and people are trying to get in. You can see from the highway the damage that the fire left behind. There used to be houses here. Now there's nothing.
Reduced to ashes after this, a wall of fire fanned by hurricane-force winds, eviscerating everything in its path last week. Now there are worries that rebuilding will erase the community and the culture of Lahaina.
It's just a special place that we can't lose that. That's why we can't have these big corporations come in and build these big establishments and these big resorts. We have enough of that. If you look around you, there's big hotels all over the island. We don't want that in Lahaina.
Rochelle Kitajama is picking up donations for family members who lost everything. She's worried they will take offers from developers, sell their land, and move away.
That's our message, is for people to stay. Just stay. Stay. Because it won't be the same without you.
Lahaina before the fire was a pocket of tradition, home to Hawaiian families for generations.
Just made it in. Love you guys. Love you too.
This native Hawaiian leader worries a rush for real estate could echo the island's colonial past.
Now we see a lot of those things playing about right now today, that our existence as indigenous people are now at the verge of being erased.
And Lindsay, I know you're still in Maui, but you just got back from that core disaster zone. What struck you most there?
I think that this disaster is still unfolding. You could see the evidence of the grim search for victims. There were vehicles that had those X's marked to show that there were no human remains. There were still large helicopters carrying water flying over the zone, presumably looking for hot spots. And this is all happening as people who've lost everything are trying to decide what to do. The governor has said he's going to try and prevent people coming in from outside and buying land, but you can understand the temptation, Adrian, for people who've lost everything. Some of them don't have insurance. To take the money and build a new life must be very tempting.
Indeed. All right, Lindsay Duncombe in Wailea, Maui. Thank you. After this summer of wildfires and floods, many in Nova Scotia are bracing for what could be next, and preparations are underway for the peak of hurricane season, which meteorologists say could be a busy one. So in Halifax, a new program is hoping to help vulnerable people when natural disasters strike. Kayla Hounsell explains how it works and why it could save lives.
Ray Webb is just back from fishing, but at 75, he knows he's slowing down a little. When post-tropical storm Fiona wreaked havoc on Atlantic Canada last year, he was without power for 2 weeks.
With the trees across the road and the power lines across the road, and we were basically trapped here.
Webb lives in rural Pictou County, one of the hardest hit regions. Around here, when disaster strikes, it often falls to the volunteer fire department to check on people.
They fall through the cracks because they don't know what resources are available, or they don't know how to get in touch with the people.
In the Halifax area, a new program is about to launch to change that. A vulnerable persons registry. It can be used in any kind of emergency for anyone who may need extra help. Hurricanes, fires, flash floods, all of which Nova Scotia has seen in a catastrophic way over the past year. And this year's hurricane season is predicted to be above normal.
It is the thing that keeps me up at night, is worried about how people fall through the cracks, and we want to be able to help during emergencies to make sure that they're safe.
Plans for the program kicked into high gear after an elderly man with Alzheimer's died during Fiona. Now people can register before a disaster. They'll get a text alert, and if that doesn't work, an in-person visit. It's modeled after a similar program established in Sault Ste. Marie after a man died during the Great North America Blackout of 2003.
We consider it an additional safeguard to help people, age actively and stay in their homes for longer and be prepared for emergencies.
I would do it. I have a VON nurse that comes here, and I have recovering from cancer. And so I could use some help maybe.
It won't help him right now since he's far outside the city, but there are calls to make the program province-wide. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Blue Mountain, Nova Scotia.
Now back to our top story. The situation unfolding right now in the Northwest Territories. A really difficult day for Yellowknife. All residents are being ordered out of the capital by noon Friday, either by plane or by car. And the plea is for people to leave right now while it's safe and calm. This is an enormous undertaking for the 20,000 residents who live in the city. There is, of course, more coverage ahead. The National is back in 2. There could be a big setback tonight for Canada's tourism industry because China has left Canada off a list of officially sanctioned destinations for tour groups to visit. Kate McKenna now with what's behind the move and why the timing couldn't be worse.
Post-pandemic, business has been a bit slow, and this tour boat company is just trying to stay afloat.
It's hit and miss. We aren't fully booked online, and we depend on a lot of walk-by passengers.
And now an extra challenge. Last week, China announced on state television it was lifting a pandemic ban and officially approving group travel to dozens of countries, including Australia and the United States. Notably absent from that list, Canada.
It's going to have a huge impact on the ability for operators to continue to regain the lost revenue that they suffered during the pandemic.
Experts say the move will cost Canada's tourism industry hundreds of millions in revenue. There's no hard data, but before the pandemic, Chinese residents spent nearly $750 million in Canada annually.
It's definitely a step backwards. It's a shame that we don't see many group customers anymore. Hopefully it'll change in the future.
We know they want to come. So I think we've got a little bit of politics going on right now. I hope we can see through that and open the gates once again.
Those politics are referenced directly in the response from the Chinese embassy in Ottawa, saying Canada has, quote, hyped up alleged Chinese interference. In a statement, it added, the Chinese government attaches great importance to protecting the safety and legitimate rights of overseas Chinese citizens and wishes they can travel in a safe and friendly environment. Opposition leader Pierre Poilievre doesn't buy that. He says the government hasn't been tough enough.
I don't know what hard line you could accuse Justin Trudeau of taking. What has he done? He's done nothing.
So this is interesting. Kate, we heard from the opposition. What about the government?
Well, they say they don't really have a solution for this, but are aware Canada has been left off the list. The government acknowledges that Chinese tourism does contribute significantly to the industry and will request reinstatement to this approved list of countries, which will once again encourage Chinese tourists to visit Canada.
All right, we'll see what happens. Kate McKenna in Ottawa. Veterans Affairs Canada confirms tonight the Canadian National Vimy Memorial in northern France has been vandalized. The monument bears the names of thousands of Canadian soldiers who died in the First World War. The incident apparently happened Tuesday night. An employee of the memorial spotted someone scrawling graffiti and then running away. In a statement, the Minister of Veterans Affairs said, I was appalled to hear the vandalism that took place at the Canadian National Vimy Memorial, and her office is working to ensure that the graffiti is removed as soon as possible. Canadian and French officials are both investigating. Well, some new Canadian research suggests some breast cancer patients could skip an often painful part of traditional treatment. Shoshana Reid tells us why, for some, radiation may not be necessary.
For many women, a breast cancer diagnosis often leads here, surgery and chemotherapy or radiation, followed by years of hormone therapy. But new research says some patients may be able to skip radiation.
The findings were very impressive.
Published in the New England Journal of Medicine, the Canadian study followed 500 women over the age of 54. All had low-risk breast cancer. Their tumors were slow-growing and smaller than 2 centimeters, and no cancer was detected in their lymph nodes. After surgery, patients did not undergo radiation, instead going straight to hormone therapy, and were monitored for 5 years with annual mammograms. The results? Only 2.3% of the women in the study had breast cancer return, a low rate of recurrence.
Now that we can identify women who don't require radiation, at least in a significant number, it's going to allow them to avoid the inconvenience and side effects of treatment.
So the diagnosis was a bit shattering.
New grandmother Karen McNabb was diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer last summer. She underwent surgery, followed by 16 rounds of radiation.
It is quite painful. My right breast was rock hard, and it was blistered and raw.
McNabb says her most recent mammogram was clear, but she still feels the effects of her treatment. And she says if her oncologist recommended opting out of radiation, she would listen. Experts say this research may give low-risk patients new treatment options.
In the next couple of years, I think we'll have some of these tests available where we can sit down with a woman and say, here's your risk of the cancer coming back without radiation. Here's the risk of the cancer coming back with radiation. There's no difference in your particular case.
Researchers say they will continue to monitor the women for an additional 5 years and say they hope their findings help future patients avoid any unnecessary procedures. Tashana Reed, CBC News, Toronto. After the break, we will return to the wildfire emergency that is unfolding in the Northwest Territories. Everyone in Yellowknife is being ordered to evacuate the capital by noon on Friday. That is because while the fire is roughly 17 kilometers from the city limits, the fear is that flames could reach the city by the weekend. Officials stress there's no immediate danger right now, which is why this is the right time to get out. Our coverage continues right after the break. Welcome back. We are following breaking news in Yellowknife tonight. Officials have ordered everyone to leave by noon Friday, fearing a wildfire could reach city limits by the weekend.
I'm directing residents of Yellowknife, Detta, Delo, and Ingram Trail to begin evacuating in a phased approach determined by level of risk.
Moments after that news conference, an emergency alert went out to residents on their cell phones. Strong winds are pushing flames closer to the city of some 20,000 people. The fire is about 17 kilometers away from city limits right now. There's only one main route out of the city. That is Highway 3. Officials say they are calling the evacuation for now to allow people to use that road to get out while it's safe. Pilot vehicles will be escorting people through the smoky areas. And emergency flights that they spoke of will begin tomorrow. Here's some of the announcement we heard earlier about the plan to protect Yellowknife. Have a listen.
The wildfire situation in the Northwest Territories continues to be critical. Here we've had a lot of good updates from our ministers on Yellowknife, and I would like to touch on a couple other locations. Hay River saw the fire to the south of their community get closer to the city today. We saw highly active fire in that area, and it was moving quickly. That situation is constantly evolving, and we are going to be continuing to put out updates for the folks out there. But what I can tell you is that our team in the town of Hay River are working as hard as possible to keep that community safe. Moving on to Yellowknife, I want to be clear about the wildfire situation for folks as they make the difficult decision to leave their homes. There is a possibility that this fire reaches Yellowknife without any rain by the weekend, the outskirts of Yellowknife. And by Friday, there is a possibility that without rain, that fire could reach the Ingram Trail. This is a very serious situation, and our teams are coping with a lot out there. I did want to share some good news from today. We've heard a lot about visibility challenging firefighting efforts out on the Yellowknife fire out here, the Yellowknife and Beshacombe fire, and the Ingram Trail fire, and the N.W.T fire, all of them that are encircling this area. But today, we were able to get out and fly. We had 7 air tankers hitting targets on the east of the fires, that F-15, the Beshacombe Yellowknife fire, and we had crews out there, and they were able to get some good suppression work done. We do expect the fire will have progressed slightly further to the east by the end of the peak burning day tonight. However, we think that the suppression work has done its job in slowing the growth towards the city. Now, I do want to look forward a little bit because as folks are leaving their homes and heading to a place where they're going to be watching their community and a wildfire nearby anxiously, I want to talk a little bit about the plans that we have in place to help protect Yellowknife, Dilo, and N.W.T and the area. So I'm gonna share an image here. Of what the plan looks like in the Yellowknife area. So in conjunction with the city of Yellowknife, we are setting up an extensive line of sprinklers and high volume water systems surrounding the city. These systems are intended to discourage ignition and to protect structures if wildfire does encroach. The area in yellow is a control line where we'll have crews on the ground cutting kilometers and kilometers of line with fire retardant laid down to provide important base for operations and for us to use all the tactics at our disposal to keep this community safe. Now, some of the tactics we're considering work to head off the fire with fire towards the east, or towards the west. I apologize. This is one tactic we can use, but I want to assure residents that we'll be using every tool at our disposal. We'll be looking to direct attack that fire as is possible. We're going to be looking to slow it down, and we're going to be continuing to do good work on the ground to slow the spread towards Yellowknife. Now, I want to stress the importance of the city of Yellowknife in this plan. The city of Yellowknife has been working shoulder to shoulder with our team as we work to protect this community as we face down this unprecedented wildfire crisis here.
So that was Mike Westwick, who is the Fire Information Officer for the Northwest Territories. That word unprecedented is important. We are looking at the largest evacuation in the history of the Northwest Territories, and it is really in some ways just beginning. I'd like to bring in the mayor of Yellowknife, Rebecca Alty. Mayor Alty, you were at that news conference. You must be exhausted and juggling so much. Is there any way to know how many people are still in Yellowknife right now?
We don't have that number right now. We did have a lot of people preemptively leave, even starting yesterday. But today there was a lot of cars on the highway. And that's what we wanted to do with this evacuation order, was taking a look at the number of wildfires across the Northwest Territories, and particularly in the South Slave. We're looking at that with the condition of the fire and how it behaves. This is the right time to evacuate. The highway south is open, so residents are able to access that. And for residents who don't have a vehicle, we will be doing the airplane, the aviation evacuation starting tomorrow, as you mentioned earlier. If the highway shuts down, then the remaining part of the evacuation is done by air as well. So there is, again, I think the important thing to stress is the fire isn't here yet. We're doing this ahead of time so that we're able to complete the evacuation before the risk continues to move.
And certainly, urging people obviously to be calm and kind to each other. Heard that many times during the news conference. You referenced the logistics a little bit. I am curious about how some of this plays out. Some people clearly don't have cars. Many may not have cell phones to have heard the evacuation order. So how do you find and get to these people?
Yeah, the information will be going out in a number of different ways. Even residents that have a cell phone, if you know of a friend that doesn't, or the friend that doesn't have technology, stop by their house, make sure that they're ready and prepared, and encouraging people to carpool. So again, it's having residents to help in this part of looking after one another, as well as the city, the territorial government, the federal government. We're all part of this evacuation plan, so we're all working together on the logistics and getting the information out.
Can you open a window for us? I mean, as mayor, what are you juggling right this moment?
The city and the N.W.T are working on this evacuation plan together. So for myself, it's working with the city team, getting the news out and the information out to residents. I am one of the people that will be essential and staying here in Yellowknife to make sure that things are progressing on the ground, all of the defensive work that's happening, and to be able to communicate with residents. I know it's a really tough time, and to leave your community and not know how your house is doing, I know will be a big stress on a lot of people. So really being able to provide the updates to residents is a key part of my role over the next couple days.
And how worried are you about the future of, beautiful, historic Yellowknife?
There's the defensive part of the lines that Mike referenced a lot in his comments there. The other thing that if the fire did make it to Yellowknife, there would also be fire retardant gel put on the assets that we are particularly looking to save, something like the multiplex, which is our current evacuation center for residents who are remaining. So there are a number of buildings in town that would be identified, and this fire retardant gel would be dropped on it. It was used in Bechico very successfully. Bechico is about an hour away. It was impacted by wildfires at the end of July, and the gel was saved their structures. So there's a lot of work happening defensively, and if the fire makes it here, the steps that would be taken at that point.
Does this beast of a fire surprise you at all?
It's definitely the biggest fire we've ever seen, and I'm born and raised here in Yellowknife. We had a big fire in 1998 and a big fire in 2014 in what we call the North Slave region, so the north side of the lake that we're on. But it's generally been near the community of Bechico, again, the community that's an hour away. So Yellowknife has dominantly been the reception center for evacuations. That's been our role throughout history. So the fact that Yellowknife's now actually having to evacuate, it's the first time. We're half the population of the Northwest Territories, and we're having to evacuate with some of the other larger communities in Yellowknife, Fort Smith and Hay River as well. So I think it was 15% of the population had been evacuated at the start of this week. We're 50% of the population. It's big for the Northwest Territories.
It's awful. Mayor Alty, thank you very much for taking what little time you have to spend it with us. We appreciate it.
Not a problem. Thank you.
So if you have already left the Northwest Territories or you're preparing to evacuate, officials are asking you to register online. How do you do that? Well, you go to gov.nt.ca/public safety and follow the links. Please note, one registration may be used for individuals or households. You are watching breaking news coverage on The National. We'll be right back. 2 years after Ottawa promised to help Afghans fleeing the Taliban, many are still hiding in fear, waiting to learn if they qualify to come to this country. Rafi Boudjikanian now with the story of one man's agonizing wait for his family to join him.
My wife, my sister here with me, my brother.
Pictures and video are all Asad Ali Afghan can show his daughter of their loved ones. He's a former interpreter for the Canadian military. He arrived in Canada last year after fleeing Afghanistan. His two brothers and sister and their kids are hoping to do the same.
Like a person divided in two places, it's always hard.
Afghans' relatives fled for neighboring Pakistan after Kabul fell to the Taliban, but 2 years later, the Canadian government has yet to open up their case files. His brother says the Taliban targets those who helped the West and their relatives. He asked us to hide his identity because he still doesn't feel safe. He barely steps out, concerned about threats from local law enforcement.
It's always dangerous there to, stay for longer.
Asad Ali Afghan is still fighting to bring his family here. He says he's provided Immigration Canada documents showing he's financially responsible for his siblings and hasn't seen any movement.
What we've seen from the government is slow inaction on making sure that the most vulnerable can get to safety.
Opposition parties and refugee advocates have urged Ottawa to move faster to bring Afghans here. The government says it's doing what it can and may even expand their program to include more people.
There is some uncertainty in the number of people, obviously, that assisted Canada, and clearly what their family members, who their family members are, and the level of risk that those people face in that country. And it's not like Canada will hit a number and walk away from the table.
The Immigration Department says it expects some 40,000 Afghans will have landed here by the end of the year. Unclear if that will include Asad Ali Afghan's family. Officials have told him the files are under review. Rafi Bujikani on CBC News, Ottawa.
Stay with us. The Moment is coming up next. The National. We'll be right back. The family that inspired the movie The Blind Side is speaking out tonight. They are the focus of new legal action from the man who believed he was their son. Now he says he was tricked. Ashley Burke explains.
It was a feel-good Hollywood drama that won Sandra Bullock Oscar Gold.
To the family that allowed me to play them, the Tui family, I know they're in here and you'll probably hear her in a minute. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
But now accusations it was all based on a lie.
Are you going to protect the family, Michael?
Yes, ma'am.
Blindside tells the story of Michael Oher, a homeless black teenager adopted by a wealthy white family.
Do you have any place to stay tonight?
The Tuohys help him become a first-round NFL draft pick.
You see number 74? Well, that's my son.
But Oher says he found out in February he was never adopted.
The Blind Side, it's totally different. The Blind Side, it was told, like I said, it was told by other people.
While promoting his new book, Oher filed a petition in a Tennessee court alleging he was tricked by the Tuohys into signing a conservatorship.
Conservatorships take away an adult's right to make their own decisions.
Oher's petition alleges that at no point did the Tuohys inform Michael that they would have ultimate control of all his contracts.
In these conservatorship abuse cases, there's a position of trust where one adult gives over this power to the other adult, believing that they have their best interests at heart or not even understanding what they're signing.
Oher wants a judge to release him from it and pay him what he calls his fair share of the movie's $300 million in profits. But the Tuohys call the allegations ridiculous and say it's all part of a shakedown.
If he says he learned that in February, I find that hard to believe. There were things back in 2020, 2021 that were like, if you guys give me this much, then I won't go public with things. And
in a statement their lawyer wrote, the Tuohys have given Mr. Oher an equal cut of every penny received from The Blind Side, have always been upfront about a conservatorship from which not one penny was received and was established to assist with Mr. Oher's needs, and will never oppose terminating it.
I would like to thank what this film was about for me.
As the legal battle plays out, people on social media are now calling on Sandra Bullock to hand her Oscar back. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Washington.
Well, if you look closely, this might look a bit unusual. Building a home with only hand tools, but that is just what the Robinson brothers did last week to finish what their grandfather started in 1910. Now, over a century later, a dream 3 generations in the making is our moment.
I wanted to see if we were as tough as our ancestors were. If we could actually build a house without any electricity or cordless, tools, and what it would be like to do that. Well, our grandfather homesteaded near Assiniboia, Saskatchewan, and he was a carpenter. He had built his sod house. And so what we wanted to do is kind of honor him and pick off, start out where he might have left off, building a homestead shack. And what they were building were basically one-room shacks with a wood stove and minimal furniture. And he made all his own furniture in the sod house. And fortunately, we still have that furniture from the sod house. And this weekend, with 20 of our friends and neighbors, we built a homestead shack the way they would have built it, we think, in 1910.
Did you catch that? The brothers, 20 of their friends, a few Clydesdales, 4 days, 3 nights. That's all they had, but they did it. That is a National for Wednesday, August 16. Thank you for being with us. Have a good and safe night.